Okay, take three. Take three.
Yes.
Technology. This is half the fun from working from home. It just, tends to, have a good time. But anyway.
Right.
Let's talk. Let's talk some serious, awesome stuff about business. Because I think at the moment, people are having a bit of a really scary time. Like some businesses are doing exceptionally well, which obviously is great for them and good on them. And others as well have just pretty much had the rug pulled out from under them and are now having to find ways to pivot that, would necessarily not be something they've planned for, have not been able to, maybe have enough money in the bank. So what I'd love to talk to you about right now is what are some ways that people can attract business, can attract clients? What can they do to make sure that they're standing out, even if it's dire straits at the moment, they may not be able to sell?
Okay, so I want to give a little bit of insight into what people should be doing to attract clients. That there is a psychologist from almost like 100 years ago called Maslow, and he developed the hierarchy of needs. And we need to understand it because that's going to determine what types of products and services we need to be promoting, because if it doesn't meet what people are needing at this point in time, no one's going to look at it. So at the base of it all, you really have those physiological needs. So your food, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, sex. So those are the things that people are wanting right now more than anything else. And when we're looking at our products, does it fit one of those categories? Because those are the things that people are going to need. When you look at, if you go out to, and pretty much anywhere around the world, grocery stores, hospitals, pharmacies, the places that meet those needs are open.
Yeah.
Limit restaurants because people need food. If you can be able to have it delivered or take out or something like that to limit physical contact, those are the options. But right above that, this is where it gets into safety needs, where it's your personal security, like employment for income, because people are concerned. Like, how do I make that money of resources, the health, and so people want to know what can they do to improve themselves, which is why you look at individuals around the world of making masks for themselves, because it falls into that category. Why is there a worldwide shortage? People are concerned, how do they stay healthy with all the things going on? And then the last level I want to briefly mention, because it's the only one that's going to be applicable at that last level, is going to be a sense of love and belonging for friendship, intimacy, family, a sense of connection, which is why people are connecting more online with platforms such as Zoom, because we want to have some type of interaction with someone. If we can't physically connect with our friends in places, what can we do to still have some type of connection, to see facial expressions, have some type of conversation, even though you're not in the same room, you can still have a similar experience. Like right now, we're in literally different parts of the world, but we're having a conversation. And that's what people are craving. So when you're looking at businesses, they have to do this.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point, especially for people who are looking to potentially start some kind of new venture, or they've got some time on their hands. There are those fundamental things that people are going to need, right? So as you mentioned, food, sex. Well, that's a bit hard in New Zealand at the moment. We're all in lockdown, so we're not meeting anyone at the moment, trust me. But, once it's all over, it's going to be, there's going to be things that are going to really, be able to take off. And I think it's looking at the world in a different lens, like taking a reflective look at yourself and going, what am I really missing and craving right now? Because there's opportunity everywhere. And it's about, something that you could potentially maybe put out there and through a different means, like, on e-commerce or online, and being able to look at that opportunity. So I think that's a great analogy. And I think we start to realize now what we're missing as well, and what we really do need. And that's the other thing, what we really do need.
Right. And there's so many ways businesses can pivot, but it just requires a difference in thinking. So I was doing some research, and like here in the States, you have a concept known as a ghost kitchen, where they don't have a physical storefront, or there's no dining room, anything like that. The only way that you can get meals from this, you're using some type of delivery service, because all they have is a kitchen.
Yeah.
And some places are more popular than ever because they're one of the few places that are open, and they can still meet that client demand. And that's going to shift things. But if you look at how many businesses, even if they're in the corporate world, where an individual that has to go to your offices, how many guys are asking the question, going forward. Do we really need to have such a large office footprint when over the past month, we've noticed the productivity has increased because people are not having to spend so much time commuting. So that means that people who don't want to cook, or the fire department prefers they don't, they're going to want to use these types of delivery services to have food so they can maintain their productivity, instead of having to take time out, like, oh, I'm going to take an hour to cook lunch and these things, instead of I'm going to order something with a few clicks and then have it show up at my door and keep on going. It's making those shifts based on how people are going to buy, but we have to use this time to prepare for it, because some things are going to happen.
I agree, and I think things aren't going to go back to normal, right? I think it's a given, and I think this is a world where it's adapt or die, and it's very worrying when I see certain people who are convinced that as soon as this lockdown's over or whatever, that it's going to go back to normal. It's not completely, and I think you're right in saying using this time to prepare, and obviously finding ways that you can create your own income if you've lost it. And secondly, being able to adapt if you've already got a business, how you can adapt to service this new world. And, it's the whole hospitality industry for me is a really interesting one. And I think there's definitely going to be a lot of opportunity. In New Zealand here, all restaurants are closed. Everything's closed. It's only basic food necessity items that can be delivered. But the ones who are going to pull through are the ones who are adapting and finding ways to be able to facilitate more delivery or education or things like that, rather than just hoping and crossing their fingers that it's going to go back to the way things were. I think that's definitely I really want to get across through a lot of this training, and I'd love to hear more about your thoughts on this, is how people can start to utilize digital technology within their business. And maybe we can talk about a couple of different industries and how it could be utilized in order to bring positive income into the through the door it goes back.
Right. Okay. So here's a couple of examples. Does it replace all the income, let's say, in a restaurant? No. But what's to stop someone like this? If they have talented chefs, let's say, doing an online cooking series to teach people how to make their favorite recipes, so that they can. If they go to the grocery store, to take pictures of, here's all the ingredients that you need so you get the exact stuff that's needed. There's nothing to stop someone from doing that. Because if you look at, people are going to still want their favorite dishes. And so what you're teaching them, the reality is people want the experience of going to the restaurant. So even though they can make it themselves, the vast majority of the time they're not. It's right now that they're craving that special dish, and the only way they're going to have it is they do it themselves. So you're meeting that need.
I couldn't agree more. And trust me, there's a lot of people right now who can't cook and are having a pretty horrible time. So when the restaurants open, they'll be out in full force. But I agree with that. And it was something that, we were talking about earlier. And it's also that mentality of making sure that you are keeping your brand alive, because if you stop and you're not in the market right now and you're not creating content, and I really want to get into more about video and why it's such an important integral part for marketing, especially on social media. But it doesn't matter what your business is, it's you have the opportunity with your trusty phone here to be able to create unlimited content. And sure, it may feel weird, it may feel awkward, but man, if people aren't seeing you, you're going to fade away. So I'd love to know more about your thoughts on video and marketing and how that can be utilized in this time through social media.
Sure. As you said, it's essential for basically any business, because it goes back to the concept is people are seeking that level of connection, and video is going to provide it. Where it goes beyond, here's, let's say, an ad for a business that's just a static image. Well, that's great if everything was quote unquote normal, but to stand out, people want to connect with a brand, and every brand has a face. It doesn't matter how big it is, how small it is. There's some way that you want to connect with it. If you think of, let's say, a brand like Starbucks, is there one face for it? No. But if you think about the locations you go to, there's that barista that you see every single time. That person becomes the face of the brand to you. And because of that, we have to think, how do we start connecting at that level with who we want to serve? Because you think about it, if we have people that come to a physical brick and mortar location on an ongoing basis, they're used to seeing people all the time, and they're not getting that. But by adding in video as part of the whole strategy, now they're regaining that sense of connection and you're maintaining that top of mind awareness so they don't forget about you. So when things open back up, you're still there because you've been with them along this whole journey instead of like, are they still around? Because you don't want that to happen. Because if they think that you might not be around, in their mind, they're not looking. They're going to go someplace else.
Completely. And I think, you know, you said earlier, we're not seeing anyone else except for who's in our little bubble at the moment. So, you know, you're going to get more attention and more, I guess, people are going to be watching content longer at this stage online because they've got nothing else to do. So it's the perfect time to be really, you know, I guess putting things out there and making sure that, you know, and there's a fine line, I think, too, about, this is something we touched on before we got cut off right at the beginning, but there's a fine line between being just blatantly salesy and then also providing value to someone. And I think that's something people really need to take into consideration. Right. You can't just stand there and go, hey, buy my product, rah, rah, rah. If you've never had a conversation, people are going to tell you F off. So it's more about how do you build that engagement? How do you build that rapport with people so that they, A, listen to you, B, trust you, and then, you know, down the track, maybe become a client or maybe they don't. I'd love to know more about your thoughts on how to build relationships with people online as well. Hopefully we don't get cut off this time and we can actually have a proper conversation about this because it's really important. It's so important, and some people don't even bother.
Right. So I think the best way for businesses to comprehend how to leverage video to build the relationships is, imagine you're dating, that you're going into a bar, you're going to go talk to that person. How would you do it? How would you make that approach? What are you going to say in the beginning? You know, you're not going to just go up to a person at the bar and go, so, my place? You're not going to do that, although you might be like, she's pretty hot, so yeah, I think I have a good chance of her saying yes. You know, that's only going to work so many times before people go, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, we know your game.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to build the rapport of, you know, adding that value up front, not asking for the sale in the beginning, just having people get to know who you are, of building up that trust factor, so they see who you are behind the scenes. That, and especially in today's world, it's not about showing up on camera perfect. I mean, there's some people like, well, I have to be dressed up. No, you don't. I mean, probably over half the world's sitting at home in yoga pants. It's okay.
I put pants on today, guys. I showered. Don't worry. No, but you're right. And I think that comes down to authenticity, right? And making sure that people relate to people better when they're authentic and they can tell that they're not, you know, putting it on a front. It's interesting. I think nowadays as well, I would love to hear your thoughts. If people have got a team, right? So that they've got a business which has a team in some capacity. How do you think it's a good idea to get the team involved on video content, or do you think it should be just coming from one central person? I'd love to get your thoughts on how you think that could roll out.
I think it needs to be a team, because if you look at most businesses, you're not going to interact with a single person. There's multiple people that you're talking to, and that way it adds that human component to the brand. Like, oh, here's all the people that I might not have realized I was talking with. Or let's say it's a customer service type business, and you suddenly see the face of someone that you've talked to multiple times, like, oh my gosh, I've talked to you half a dozen times. And there's a deeper level of connection as a result of it. And that applies to pretty much any business.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's also a really nice way to keep your team engaged as well, because I think one of the big things that we're facing at the moment is the issue of isolation. Like people, there are some people who are thriving in it and are like, yep, this is great. Someone like me who is a extrovert is struggling at times. So, you know, how I keep connected is obviously within my business, we have a team meeting every morning when our team's located globally. So that's really nice to have. And then also it's a mixture of, you know, connecting through WhatsApp or Facebook Live or whatever it may be through not only my network, but also my business network, but also my friends and family as well. So, yeah, I think definitely utilizing video in this day and age is something that's pretty unprecedented. It's kind of nice as well. Like, I don't know about you, but I've caught up with more people in the last 2 weeks than I have probably in years. So there's actually quite a nice element to that. Now, I wanted to ask you as well, in terms of setting up a business online, is there limitations to this? Can anyone do it? Like how, I guess just maybe giving an overview as to what the requirements are in your perspective as well, and how people can actually start to even look and how to investigate that kind of activity.
So the good news is that starting a business online, it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
You could have spend all the money to build, let's say, the website, whether it's e-commerce or sales funnels, you name it, or as simple as create a Facebook page and open up a PayPal account. It can be that simple. It just comes on you taking action. We have to get past the notion of, I need everything to be perfect. I read these books, these gurus said I need all these different things. No, you just have to take action. Get yourself in front of people. Identify a problem that you have the skill set to solve, and then get in front of the people. That's it. You can build the rest later, because there's people that are looking for a solution to a problem they're having right now. Go solve it, and then make things pretty later.
I love that. I think, and this is it. I think when it comes to e-com and online marketing, people overcomplicate it. And the same marketing principles apply. As you just said, if there's a need, you solve the need. You basically put it out to the market. You know, as you said, you could put it on Marketplace on Facebook. You could put it on a Facebook page. You can share it with your friends, get them to kind of engage. And as you said, all you need is a PayPal account. It's pretty easy days. And I think it's just, in this time, we need to give people information where they can learn that you don't need to spend 3 months setting up a full-on, inventory-based e-com store. You can if you want in the background, but right now there are ways to make income that you can turn around quickly. Now, I guess, Byron, it'd be good to understand from you as well. I'd love to understand if you've seen anything innovative or any other things online lately that have kind of made you go, awesome, this is a pretty cool concept.
You know, in terms of things I saw, this is an interesting concept of what people are doing, which I think it's really different, especially for teams and small groups. More and more people using messaging apps, for example, like Telegram, because you can now have a private conversation with people, which I really like. I've done that with several people. Like, we have these ongoing conversations. Some are just doing it in WhatsApp. It's just a different platform. But more and more people are using Messenger, because now you have this ability to communicate with individuals directly. You're bypassing getting stuck in, I call it the email abyss, where you're lots of people just pitching things, and you can communicate with individuals directly. And it shifts that paradigm. So, that's one thing there. But also another thing, which is, I think is really innovative, it's using the mobile wallet feature on smartphones. Have you used it before?
I have, yeah. I'm quite an early adopter with that, and it's saved my bacon a few times when I forget my wallet or things like that. So yeah, I'm grateful for the old
But for businesses to be able to use it to create, like, let's say, loyalty programs, coupons, things like that, which now you have it sitting in someone's phone. So instead of, let's say, sending out an offer that goes to someone's email and they might not see it, you can push it out to the wallet, and now they have it.
Do you want to explain that concept a bit, Byron? Because I think over here it's probably not been as adopted as readily. So I think it's something that people would maybe want to know about, especially with ecom.
Okay, so sure. With mobile wallet, it's both on Androids and iPhones, but you usually see it for, let's say, airlines. You have your different credit cards that are in there through either Google Pay or Apple Pay.
Yeah.
But the technology is in place that businesses can be able to put in their own, quote unquote, like, wallet pass inside of it, so they can create different things like coupons. They can create loyalty programs. I mean, they can create event tickets. I mean, there's a whole laundry list of things you can do. But what this does is, instead of something, let's say, going to a person's email address, and let's say that for an e-com store, you want to do a special offer, and that mostly would use whatever type of service, whether it's Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, whatever, to send out a message to everybody. Now, if the people that are part of, let's say, your rewards program have this pass installed, you can do a broadcast, which is essentially a notification that would go out to all the people that have this installed, and essentially about 95% of them will see it within 5 minutes. of them looking on their phone, which is unheard of compared to other communication. And then because it's sitting there, well, now you have something that is on their phone that they can be looking at. So, if it's an offer for, let's say, 10% off a purchase, let's say that they're going to the grocery store and they're just using their phone to pay for things. Well, that card is sitting right next to their Visa or MasterCard. Like, oh yeah, I forgot, I need to do that. So you're maintaining that top of mind awareness, which is a lot better than it's sitting email than like, oh yeah, I'll do that. And then 2 weeks later, oh crap, I forgot.
Yeah, I think definitely centralizing everything around the mobile is going to be one of the main elements at the moment, because it's pretty much the thing that, well, I know I haven't really put mine down at all. I've had to charge it twice a day for the last 2 weeks because I'm on it so much. Right. And this is the interesting thing about marketing. It's that you need to, the principles are the same, right? And we talked about that, making sure you reach the right audience, you've got the right message, you're solving the right problems, but it's in the delivery and the distribution, and that's kind of where the funnel and advertising stuff comes into it. That's where we need to pivot and be really smart around how we engage people, because, and the content as well, and the content's so relevant. I just want to talk to you about content at the moment, especially in this time that we're going around at the moment. So I've been keeping quite across all of the, I guess, guidelines from Facebook and LinkedIn, et cetera, around what we can say when it comes to ads. So I think this is something really important, is that you can't overtly talk about COVID-19 and all this kind of stuff too. So I'd like to ask you, what would be some ways that you would recommend to engage people through, I guess, through empathy, but also not trying to make your brand come across as being just taking advantage of a situation?
Okay. It goes back down to solving a problem, identifying what are the things that people are experiencing so you can have the empathy relating to them. And I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say with a restaurant, it's, they have that delivery service, but like, hey, today on our weekly cooking show, we're going to talk about how to cook, I don't know, chicken nuggets, just making something random. And so or fish and chips, whatever you want it to call it. Like, this is how you make it. It's really good and tasty, and these are the things that you're going to need. And they go through and if you don't want to take the time to cook yourselves, we do deliver. You can be able to pick it up, and this is how you go about doing it. So you're educating people, and you're still putting an offer at the end for those who want to do that. And so that's just an example there. If it's an e-com store, like let's say they're you have phone cases as an example. I'm just looking out there at random. Since I'm looking at my phone, like, oh, phone cases. If talking about like, you're out in are you going out and about? We have this special phone case that's a little spot here where you can be able to put these disinfectant wipes in it. So no matter where you go, you can be able to wipe things off and always have them with you. And something like that, because I'm not saying that, oh, this is about the virus or anything like that, but here's something that's top of mind. Like, oh no, I don't have a way to disinfect something if I'm touching it. So you look at what is a problem and how do you solve it, and how can you connect your product to it.
And that's it. And I think even like pulling that back a bit, it's something I talk to my team quite a bit about, and also with a lot of our clients, is the importance of personas and understanding who your target market is, because the way you communicate that to a mum may be very different to an 18-year-old, right? So, and this is where I think a lot of people go wrong, is they've got a great product, but they don't necessarily take the time to research and understand the motivations as to why someone would buy. So, at the moment, we are working on a couple of clients that have delivery services, one primarily in alcohol. And Nick, I think, is on, my team is on here too, which is cool. So maybe you might want to on Nick. But the cool thing is with this is that, we've got different people. We've got the young, 18 to 25-year-old who may be buying it, but that's going to be a very different person and a very different drinking style potentially to a 40-year-old, stay-at-home mum who just wants a martini to get over the day. So there's things like that. And I think understanding really why people buy and who they are, and mapping out exactly, we map it out. We'll go, okay, here's persona one, it's the mum, and here's what her motivators are, here's what she buys, here's the kind of content she consumes, here's the kind of tone of voice she uses. And we actually craft different messages dependent on who that person is. And it might be even different mediums, different platforms, different ways of, one person might be more likely to consume video or long form, whatever it may be. So I think it's kind of overcomplicating it probably, but I think it's important to understand that everyone has a different reason for doing something. And when you can get to the crux of that, it's a really powerful tool to be able to apply.
Right, definitely. And that's something that no matter what business, people need to take the time. If it takes you a couple hours, a couple days, to be as specific as possible. You want to know everything from what keeps them up at night to what they eat, what they read, as much as you humanly can, because that's going to make the difference to them connecting with the ad, or just going to go, what the heck was that, and keep going. Although sometimes that what the heck tends to work, like this whole thing about Tiger King. I don't know why people are watching it, but whatever.
Yeah, like I've tried. I think it was that beautiful moment, the fact that the world stopped and this crazy documentary came out. So I think it was a matter of timing as well, but it's very meme worthy. I think there's a lot of I've even watched it and I kind of think I know what's going on now. Yeah, there is a timing element, but I think it's still making sure that you're relevant, right? You've got to be relevant, otherwise it's just going to be a waste of time. And the other thing too, what we do sometimes, your whole audience is on social media, so you don't need to go down this whole path of creating even creating a product. You can use social media for market research. And now and again, we will dip into, certain, Facebook groups or different communities and ask questions. Ask questions. If you've got a product that you think is going to relate to mums, go in and ask a question. You'll get great feedback. You'll see if it's actually relevant. You'll see what they say about it. You'll see if there's anything in particular any words in particular they use to describe it. So doing that market research up front, and it doesn't have to be, fully in depth, but just to dip your toe in the water to understand if this is even a viable opportunity is so important. And it's all there and it's all pretty much free. So, it's how do you feel about market research, and do you use that as part of a lot of your strategy?
It's a critical step. It's something that I always do because I want to know what motivates people to buy. And unless you figure that out, you're going to miss out, be able to build effective campaigns. Without market research, you might as well have like 10 shots of tequila, have a blindfold, and hope that you hit the dartboard and you're facing the wrong direction.
That's a really good analogy. I'm sure a few people can relate to that. Even more so in a literal manner. But I think at the moment, we've got such a captive audience. There's so many people online at the moment, and it's a matter of just being able to don't run before you can walk effectively in some respects. And there's people like us available that are, more than willing to provide advice and value and, wanting to be able to help people succeed. So it's definitely an interesting time where I'm looking forward to seeing how the world really, I guess, runs out in a sense. I want to also, if anyone's got any questions, guys, you can pop Q&A things in there. We can run over things. No pressure, but obviously wanted to make that available if you wanted to. Byron, I guess in respect to where you think this is going to go from a digital marketing standpoint, where do you think the future is going to be after all this madness?
That's what it goes, and still uncertain in certain ways, because we're still seeing how a new normalcy is being created. But what I do know is people are going to be leveraging digital tools even more than they have in the past to stay connected. So we're going to be looking at how do we need to connect with people in these ways? What are the new mediums of how people are consuming? Because you look at, if people are working from home more, how have their habits changed? That affects things, because if you look in the past, people would have been at their workplace, but they were still on mobile. Are they still going to be on mobile when they're at home working? Or are they using their desktop more, just have another tab open to social media while they're working? It's these little nuances that we have to begin discovering to see how buying patterns have changed. You look at groceries. Will more people start using delivery services for it, or are they still going to go back and resume their normal shopping habits? So these are those uncertain questions that we're not going to know the answers to until everything is lifted so we can see how has behavior shifted. Will it go completely back to where it was, which it probably won't, but and how far will that pendulum swing? So then we know more exactly what needs to be done at that point, where right now we are operating based on people are captivated, they're spending more time at home, just being on social media, but then how do we need to adjust when there's the extra stimuli to stay relevant based on the things that are occurring at that point in time?
I love that. And I think that comes back to another fundamental. It's whenever it comes to when you're running a campaign or anything when it comes to do with marketing, basing it off insight, right? So it's a lot of people just assume that they know where the future is going to go. But how I've interpreted what you've said is being able to review the data, analyze how things have changed, and then make an informed decision off the back of that. And I think it's such an important thing. And this is what I'm in the same boat. I'm obviously hypothesizing, trying to get ahead of it, but until we see the numbers on the plan and we see what actually people are doing, and it's going to be different in different regions as well, based off different ways of living and I guess surviving at this time. Yeah, and it's going to be, I think, watch this. Maybe we can do a report on it, Byron. We can do a report on the new ways of consuming media in 2020.
Right. But here's something that's interesting. This is what I've been telling people for the past 2 weeks. In order to prepare for it, we have to treat it like planning for Black Friday. That the only difference is we don't know exactly when the date is. It's a moving target. But we need to be ready for when they say, oh, by the way, things are lifted, because we don't want to be in that situation. Like a lot of business will be like, it's the Monday before Black Friday. Oh yeah, we should do something. Well, it's a little late at that point.
Whew, I know that feeling.
Right. So we need to plan ahead of what types of campaigns based on the business, because you think about it, people have been locked up in some cases for 1 month, 2 months, or even 3 months, who knows? And they're craving connection, they're craving experiences. So how can you be able to tap into that? Because there's going to be a buying frenzy. You think about people, let's say, with happy hours. They want to go out and have a pint with their friends, but they haven't been able to do that for a long time. There's going to be a whole lot of drunk people that weekend.
Oh, Byron, my gosh, it's one thing I'm missing beyond belief. Trust me, it's just having a glass of wine with a friend or two. But you're right, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how long the different levels of shutdown are, especially in New Zealand. But for me, I think it's you're right. Connection is one of the biggest things that we're all craving right now. We're not designed to be sitting in a room for weeks on end and being told that we can't do this or being followed here and told it's crazy. So I think from a business opportunity, there's going to be a lot of opportunity when it comes to anything around hospitality. I think the sex industry as well is going to go crazy. I think there's going to be a lot of and food as well. I think a lot of all the good things in life, but it's true though. I honestly think it will be.
Right, and that's where this is what they have, what are their product lines, and ask, what will be the things that people will want the moment it's lifted, and then plan out the campaigns. Do you have to build sales pages for it? What are the ads that need to be created? What are the videos? And you have all of that stuff created, so when it's announced, you're flipping a switch instead of hitting the oh shit button and having to panic and work 24/7 to get something up and running.
This is it. And I think the one thing I want people to take away from this time is that it's time to prepare. Like you don't want to be sitting there going, fuck, I didn't do anything. I had 4 weeks or whatever it is to actually plan something. And you're just sitting there going, oh, well, that was a waste of time. I watched a lot of Netflix and, did whatever. But I think it's important to be able to really, quantify what you want to be able to get out of this, but also being able to create and hypothesize how your business can get out of it. And it may be 3 or 4 different scenarios. That's cool, but you've got to plan for it. You've got to strategize. Otherwise, you're going to be left on the curb, baby, which is not a good place to be.
Right.
I've only been on the curbs a couple of times in my life, but no.
They're like, I don't know why I'm sitting here, but okay, you don't want that to happen. When you look at it, it's those rare opportunities that come along once every 10 years or so that you can be able to do something amazing. Yeah. You have to be positioned accordingly. You look at one of the last times this occurred, let's say back in 2008 or so, when the economy crashed. Well, then once it started rebounding, people were craving to be able to do something. They had money to start doing things again. And some businesses thrived, others, they just did nothing because they weren't in that position. So basically every 10 years, there's something that comes along that throws a wrench into the economy and everyone goes, oh, fuck, and how do we get past it? But we have to adapt. And that's what we have to do right now and be ready for it, because it's that opportunity that's going to position your business for success, or it might not be around in the future because of that.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can do right now is nothing. And you know, and it's sad. I've seen a lot of people give up. And don't get me wrong, I know there's some businesses that have been completely wiped off, like tourism, for example. However, if you're promoting an island or something like that, the island's still there. You've still got to maintain that storytelling and that element and that organic content, because that's what's going to be able to give people hope and vision and kind of put it on their board for when I'm out of here, I'm going straight to that island or whatever it is. But if you're not visible and you're not present, it's going to take you probably won't even get back up. And that's something that I really think people need to be conscious of is making sure that they do keep their brand presence going. It's so important.
Exactly. If I was over a resort, what I would be doing, sure, there's no guest around or anything like that. I would find a way to set up a live feed of the beach so people can stream that. Like, I know people are stuck at home, but here's a view of the beach to kind of help take your mind off of things, the sound of the ocean, you name it.
Yeah.
So you're putting your brand in front of people. I mean, the types of stuff that people go to resorts for, you can at least provide that to them virtually to keep your brand relevant. It's the least you can do, because then when everything's lifted, it makes a world of a difference. Or other things that brands can be doing, it's telling people, you know, pre-book your vacation in terms of, and give people options that they can, you give them insane deals. For example, some of the airlines here in the US, that the prices for the tickets are crazy cheap. It's almost ridiculous. Like it costs you cheaper to fly than to drive to most places, depending on how far you have to go. Yeah, it's insane. But they're allowing you to change your flight for no additional fees. And if you're thinking about going on trips, well, pre-book them. And so you have to adjust the dates. So what? It doesn't cost you anything to change the date of the flight. Why not?
Yeah, taking advantage, I guess, of some of the situations. It's you know, I know it's not the reality for everyone, but if you are, there's things that you can definitely leverage, and it's I don't know, like for me, when you said the beach, I just went, oh, I haven't seen the beach in a few weeks now. I'm crazy. Anytime someone puts up a photo or a video of the water, I'm just like, oh, you know, that's stuck in my head, because I've lost that I guess personal freedom to be able to go to the beach whenever I want. So I think it's,
you know, and it had a little bit of humor to it. If I was owned a resort like that, I would set up a basic e-com store and sell sand. Something as simple as that.
Okay, there's someone's, you know, if you're near a beach, that's what you got to do. Oh my God, sand, sea air.
Why is there a crater by the beach? I don't know. Little bags of sand.
Bottling it up. Oh my gosh. That's a really good point, though. It's finding quirky ways that are going to make people, and this is the other thing, humor is what's getting a lot of people through right now. So if you can cut through, if it's relevant to your brand with the sense of humor, man, it's just going to alleviate so much stress and pain at the moment for people. Right. So it's not appropriate for everyone, I guess, but, you know, having a gentle laugh at yourself and your business, and being able to potentially find another revenue stream through a product that could potentially be like sand. I love that. I don't know if the council would go about that. Anyway, that's a whole nother story for another day. Right. We're not getting into legislation. But anything, Byron, we've got about 4 minutes left. Do you want to finish up with anything? What would your main takeaway, I guess, be for people in this situation right now?
The biggest thing is to not give up hope, because there's so much negativity that's taking place in the world. It doesn't matter where you look. People are craving positivity, leadership, connection more than anything. And if you can provide that, you're going to stand out, simply because the average person out there, the average business owner, is sitting on their hands and doing nothing. So the bar has been lowered dramatically. It doesn't take much to start standing out. You don't have to do things are amazing. You don't have to have high-end equipment to do it. Pull out your phone, start shooting videos, be authentic, because the more you show up now, people are going to remember that, because you're there for them when they're craving connection. And because you provided it, they're going to want to do business with you when you can. And if you can do business right now, look for ways that you can serve, because people still want to buy, but they just need to know who to buy it from. And it's better for them to buy from you than someone that they don't know.
Love that. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And, you know, it's been a year since we've seen each other too. I was thinking about that. I was like, in Fiji, gosh, that was a good time. But anyway, look, honestly, I think this has been amazing. I think people would have got a lot of value out of this. And I'm sure if anyone has any questions, they can post it. I'll post this up in the group once it downloads later today. But yeah, honestly, I hope everything's good in Texas and you're looking after yourself. And yeah, I'm really appreciative of you giving out your time today. And it was I learned a lot too. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to know.
Have a wonderful evening in Texas, baby. Woo, until next time.
Definitely. Until next time.
See ya. Thank you. Bye.
Definitely. See ya.